Hello, how are you doing? And welcome back to the channel. Crusaders 52, Highlanders 15 in Super Rugby. Something a little bit different for you on the channel today. I know there's been a lot of Six Nations chat, and given that it's a rest week in the Six Nations, given that I've done a lot of videos on that competition, and I will continue to, don't worry about that. I just thought this morning, early morning in the UK, watch a bit of the Super Rugby and do a video on that to see how it does, to see if there's an audience for it, all that sort of stuff basically. So in this game, in this video, I beg your pardon, it's just going to be my thoughts on that game and also kind of a conversation about Super Rugby more generally and where it currently is. If you are new here, do subscribe to the channel and like the video. As you can probably tell from this intro, I try and cover a whole different range of topics in terms of rugby on the channel. So subscribe to make sure you don't miss anything. And also, most importantly, drop a comment down below. What do you make of what I say in this video, and what do you make of the Crusaders and the Highlanders and Super Rugby at this moment in time? All right, let's get into it. So 52-15, a scoreline that kind of paints the picture really of this game. The Crusaders, very, very comfortable victory against the Highlanders, two teams that lost in their opening round of the competition last week. So we're looking to respond, and it was the Crusaders, which I think probably unsurprisingly were the side that were able to do that. I think if you just look at the two squads just on paper, and the Crusaders are the side that have the stronger players at this moment in time, and that was how it proved. Now, having said that, the Highlanders did start the game pretty well. They went 3-0 up, they looked okay, and then the Crusaders, you felt, just started to go through the gears, were able to ramp up the pressure, looked pretty good in attack, and ultimately scored a boatload of tries, and then the Highlanders were able to score a couple just kind of consolation tries towards the end of the game, really. So as I say, the Crusaders were showing their class. The Highlanders as well, I think, are going to be disappointed in a lot of different areas of their game. Their scrum actually functioned relatively well, although that may be one where it was down to the officiating. I think I was getting the impression from watching that the Crusaders were a little bit unhappy with how the scrum was being officiated in that first half when the decisions were going the way of the Highlanders. But one area, particularly in terms of set piece, that didn't go well at all for the Highlanders, and something that they're going to have to go back to the training pitch on, is the line out. Overthrows, losing their own throw kind of consistently throughout the game, and that's going to be a major reason at the moment for why they're struggling. But having said that, it's not just down to the line out. When you look at that scoreline, and you know there's a lot of other areas of their game which aren't really going right at the moment, whether it's kind of the kicking game and giving the ball away. It seemed to me like they were happy to kick it away quite a lot, but then they just had a really quality Crusaders side coming back at them. Their attacking game, the tries that they were able to score, actually, the Highlanders kind of exhibited some of the attacking stuff they can do, some really nice kicks through, but it was just too little too late. They weren't really able to build any sustained pressure throughout a lot of the game, and I think that was highlighted early on in the second half. It was about 44 minutes when the Highlanders had a line out in the Crusaders 22, and that was their first entry into the Crusaders 22 in the game. It had taken until the second half, and also to reinforce the point about the lineouts, that was then a line-out throw on their own throw that they ended up losing. So I think that kind of sums up probably where things went wrong for the Highlanders just a little bit. Also, defensively, massive concern. It's the second week in a row that the Highlanders have conceded 50+ points. Now, admittedly, they've probably played the two favourites for the competition in the Blues and the Crusaders. I think a lot of people would have those teams down as their favourites to win it at this moment in time. So they've had a tough couple of opening fixtures, but even so, the manner of those defensive performances, the fact that they've conceded 50+ in both of those games, there's a lot of work to do for the Highlanders. Let's move on to the Crusaders though, because they were impressive. Despite losing to the Chiefs last week, where I know they were really disappointed. Richie Mo'unga, in fact, in the interview of Sonny Bill Williams immediately after the game on Stan Sport, said how disappointed they were with their attacking game last week, how disappointed he was with obviously his responsibility to kind of marshal that attack. And this was much improved this week against the Highlanders. They turned the screw as the game went on. We saw the driving maul from the line out, which has been such a strength of theirs over the years. We also saw some nice little tries with David Havili with a little kick through for Mo'unga to get on the end of. And overall, I thought it was just a really good and quite diverse attacking performance from the Crusaders. And Richie Mo'unga, 22 points for him with an excellent performance as well. Also, Noah Hoffman, I just wanted to give a mention to him. He was the young scrum half that made his debut off the bench for the Crusaders. Didn't see too much of him, but certainly, you know when you just get a gut instinct about a guy, that he's someone I want to see more of, in terms of, I think they said on the comms that he's from Hamilton Boys School as a scrum half. I don't know, just like the look of him, liked what he might be about, so excited to kind of see how he might be able to kick on for the Crusaders and further. He's definitely one to keep an eye on. But as I say, big thumbs up for the Crusaders, the Highlanders, things to work on. And the final thing actually, in terms of just a player comparison, I suppose, Thomas Mo'unga Jensen for the Highlanders at 12, and then David Havili, who I just mentioned, for the Crusaders. Both guys I actually thought who looked pretty good today. Havili on the winning side and getting a couple of scores, ran a really nice line in the second half inside the 22 to break through and score a try, little kick over the top. So he probably had a better, more all-round performance. But Thomas Mo'unga Jensen as well, another guy who I think is one to keep an eye on. It makes that conversation, I think, about the All Blacks 12 jersey quite interesting. You would imagine it's going to be Barrett in that position. There are a number of other guys. I think it's a real position of strength, actually, for the All Blacks. For David Havili, do people see him as an inside centre or perhaps as a fullback? I know he can play there as well. And where do you think he should play? Do drop a comment down below there. I'm relying on kind of New Zealand rugby fans and fans of the Crusaders and the domestic teams over there to pitch in on this one, because I heard them talking about it on the TV. And I thought it was quite interesting. Maybe for David Havili, there's less competition at fullback in terms of the All Blacks jersey, and he should focus his attention there. Or do you think you could see him getting in there at inside centre? What do you think is the best option for him? And then also a mention on Mo'unga Jensen. I thought he had a really good game, actually, in a side that was struggling to generate front foot ball. It's never easy at inside centre when that's the case. But again, is another guy that I'll be keen to keep an eye on going forward, because I thought he did pretty well. Final point I wanted to touch on. At first, I was having to work out why was this game being played in Melbourne between two New Zealand teams, and then obviously realised it's kind of the Super Rugby Pacific in Melbourne. A number of games this weekend, probably just about now as I'm speaking. There's the game between the Rebels and the Hurricanes coming up as well. So they're kind of doing this thing of having a number of games in Melbourne, probably trying to grow the competition, grow rugby union more generally in Melbourne as well, because for as great a sporting city as Melbourne is, rugby union is not that high on the agenda for a lot of sports fans there. So it just made me wonder about where Super Rugby is at the moment, because speaking from my point of view in the UK, back in the day when it was, I can't remember what it was called now, was it I want to say top 12, top 14, but I'm not sure it was, because that's the French league. But you know what I mean, when it was back in the day and it was called something different. Super Rugby was the competition, really, in terms of the best rugby was played, incredible entertainment. And I feel like it's steadily kind of dropped away over the years. I think the Gallagher Premiership has caught up with it, certainly in terms of competition as well, in terms of how any side can beat any side, in terms of the audience for it as well and the crowds we see. So I'm just interested to where Super Rugby is at the moment. COVID obviously didn't help it with the travel required between the different countries. We've seen Japanese sides come in, Argentinian sides. We've now lost the South African teams. It's a competition that has seen so much change, and I think overall that really hasn't helped it over the years. I just wonder where it is at this moment in time, but clearly they're trying to grow it in Australia, grow it in Melbourne, which is a good thing, a positive thing to see. I'm just not sure at this moment in time that I can see those Australian sides being as competitive as the New Zealand sides, and I don't know what the solution is to that. I know sports like AFL or NFL, NBA, sports like this, where it's very, very controlled, very regulated to make sure that almost the worst sides get the best opportunity to get better and to grow their audience. I don't know if that's possible in something like this. But yeah, I'd love to see Super Rugby go from strength to strength and be the competition it once was. So as I say, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of everything I've touched upon in this video, what you think of Super Rugby as a whole. Like the video as well and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.